Hello. One important thing in Path of Exile is knowing the value of the items you find, so you can price them correctly in your sales tab. The current best method is to use poe.trade to price check your items. In this video I will give you a few examples on how I would price check an item and show you a general way of using the site. Let's say I have recently upgraded my chest piece, so I want to sell my old chest piece. It's a 5 link, it's a body armor, and it has 80 life and 80 total resist. So you put in here in the mods life, you don't want to be too specific, so we put slightly over and under the life value we had. Same for total elemental resistances. We can put the same over and under. 10 above is fine for this type of situation. 10 under or above, and we get 17 results. We see here we for sure don't want corrupted, though. Let's remove the corrupted ones. Corrupted, no. 11 results. So we see here this one is a tad bit worse than ours, and the dexterity evasion base isn't too valuable. You can see as soon as we move into other types of bases that has strength or dex, or purely strength, or purely int, we reach higher price. So let's say it's a glorious plate, so it's a purely strength base. So the 5 link we have, I gave you an example of, will probably land somewhere in between here. So I would price it at around 12 chaos, probably. Seems fair. Now let's have a look on an actual item. Let's do this Onyx amulet here. Now it has fire damage to attacks, lightning damage, global critical strike multiplier, max ES, increased maximum energy shield, and lightning resist on an Onyx amulet base. Most of these stats is aimed towards a CI or low life caster build, so I'm not going to put in the added fire damage to attacks into my search. Now I have prepared here lightning damage, global critical strike multiplier, maximum energy shield, and increased maximum energy shield. Let's as well add spell damage here. And here we can put the count, so only one of them is matched, because both spell damage and lightning damage, they are fairly similar. So someone who is looking for like an amulet probably can utilize either one of them, and all of these we want matched, so we don't put any specific. All specific mods must exist when it looks like this, and you put amulet as well. So there's one result with this. So, but this one doesn't have any resistances, right? But our had, so we can try to remove the increased maximum energy shield and add the lightning resist as well. Now the reason I remove the maximum energy shield is because it's not very high. Or I should put elemental resist instead. Just elemental resistance as one. Don't be too specific with lightning resist, stuff like that, it's important. Here we have one that is fairly similar to ours, slightly worse fire resist, better damage, and this one is fairly close, so I would put it around this price level, probably around 7 chaos. Now let's have a look at this jewel here. It has increased physical damage with one-handed melee weapons, increased maximum life, and increased area damage. It's very important to not be too specific with your dual searches, because there's a lot of dual mods that can apply to the same build, like a build that can utilize this one, physical damage, area damage, can probably utilize physical damage in general, melee damage in general, and increased damage in general, aside from the ones it already has. And we want the increased maximum life as well as a separate mod, because the increased maximum life by itself is a very valuable mod, so you don't want to get like a 3-stat damage duel and no life on your search. We get 24 results and see that the value is around somewhere around this. The price goes up the further down you go, but we can assume, since there are a bunch of them with this reasonably specific search, around 15 chaos is probably a fair price. And this is also how you generally want to search for duels. You put in all the damage types that is reasonable. This is a essence drain duel. Damage over time, chaos damage, spell damage while holding a shield, projectile damage, increased maximum energy shield. And let's say I use a delirium crafted dagger on my essence drain build, so we probably want some attack speed with daggers and attack speed while holding a shield as well. Only the high rolls for our duels on the essence drain build. There are a bunch of them, so it's important to specify the number of mods that should be matched to 3. This is how I would recommend dual searching. Now, specific unique items and cards usually have a very specific price. So take for example Wanderlust wool shoes, probably the most used pair of boots for leveling. So there is one up for 1 chaos, one up for 5 alteration, but then all of them are up for 2 chaos. So it's fair to assume that these ones are underpriced and 2 chaos is the general price. So keep in mind, unique items are very easy. You just put in the name of it and you'll get the price. Now let's do a weapon example. Let's say I'm playing a cycloner and I'm using an axe, a 2-handed axe, and I want to upgrade away from Com's Primacy, for example. I probably want something like 450 to 500 DPS. Physical DPS is important because in the skill tree most builds scale mainly physical damage, so you only want the physical DPS, it's the important part. This is elemental DPS and this is DPS in general. And that is it, 200 axe, the DPS numbers, and we'll search 8 results. So as you can see, there are some, this one has a lot higher DPS than the physical DPS due to the lightning roll. But the lightning roll will add very little damage to most builds. That is why it's equally priced as the other ones. So I can see here that if I want to find a axe like this, or I have found an axe like this, paying this amount or asking for this around 90 chaos, slightly less, around, depending on the DPS roll, like 70 to 90 chaos is a fair price. Now there is an option here called offline mode, and then you see, online mode, that you can remove, and then you see people who have posted their items that aren't currently online. I would never use this to price check an item, besides maybe the first few days of the league, because the further into the league you get, the more likely it is that the person who has posted this isn't playing anymore. So it can be a very outdated price. And far into the league, some people utilize this option to price manipulate as well. Price manipulation is when the same person posts multiple items, so they all show up on the first one, on the first page, for a cheap price, so that when people price check their items, they think that's the price, and then the person price manipulating purchases the cheap ones that is underpriced. So have a look at people's names just to make sure there isn't any price manipulation going on. Now, the last thing is searching for maps that I will give an example on. So you put in here map. Let's say for example you want to buy, or you have found the tier 13 lair map. Now if you put in only lair and the map, you'll find a bunch of spider lair maps. You'll have to go very far down before you actually find the tier 13, and even further down you might even find the lair of the Hydra. So in here, in the MISC section, you put in tier 13. And then we start finding actual lair maps. And we see a normal white one is worth 4 chaos. And now I'm going to go over like some general stuff to mention about poe.trade. So you, like you saw before, you can put in links, you can put in what colors should be linked, how many sockets. Requirements is a fairly interesting one. You can put in make sure something has the stat requirements that you can match. So maybe you only have like 19th, so you only want to find items that has maximum 19th. Or you just entered Merciless and need a new pair of gloves, so you put maximum level 55. And here in the MISC section you have quality, level, tier, like I showed you before. Item level can be important if you're interested in crafting. And identified or not, corrupted or not, crafted or not, enchanted or not. You can play around a lot with these to, if you're looking for specific stuff. So yeah, hope you have found this build, this poe.trade guide useful. Feel free to leave a comment, like the video, all that stuff, and a link to my stream will be down below as well. If you have any questions, you can go to the stream if I'm live and ask them there as well. So yeah, peace.